All is well in the land of imagination. It's your favorite author, Lisa Walker McCrae. Welcome back, my beloved earlenders, to another compelling story time brought to you from the pages of my novel, A Peculiar Kind of Love. Remember, you guys, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. First and foremost, big praise to the Most High Yah, and a grateful shout out to all of you who are still lending me your ears. Much love from this way. With that being said, let's turn some freaking pages. Clarence, come on now, set stage. Okay, beautiful souls, quick recap to catch you guys up to speed. In our last story time, Prayer and Patience, we see patience at its best. After getting advice from Miss Sue, Rain put Patience through the test when Tevin came back to apologize for his actions and the way he handled her when Rain tried to salvage their friendship. Fortunately, Rain was patient enough to hear Tevin out, and they seemed to be pretty much back on track. In other news, we found out Tevin was the one who'd robbed Marcus a few years ago. Yes, y'all, and Marcus recognized him but couldn't put a finger on it. Now, Tevin wanted to confess to Marcus what he'd done, but he stayed quiet for some reason, breaking his agreement with Drew to stay honest with her. Regardless of all of that, y'all, Marcus is at the B&B with flowers in hand, hunties. Oh yeah, it's Drew's birthday as well. So let's get back into it and see how Drew receives Marcus. We find her sitting in the bay window of the sunroom enjoying a book by one of her favorite authors, Elisheba Israel, eating a bowl of grapes. Now, Drew had only been home a few days and was already spoiled. She could get used to everybody making such a fuss over her. Drew had barely lifted a finger to turn the pages of her own book. Marcus stood back, indulging in the essence of Drew's beauty, stunned by the strength and dignity she held. He thought about how Drew had been knocked down more than a few times, but here she stood just as firm as before. For Marcus, it was nothing short of amazing, and this is the reason he loved her so much. Knocking on the door frame, Marcus greeted, "Hey, how are you?" "Just fine, Marcus. Come in and have a seat," Drew welcomed. "Okay, cool," Marcus said to self. The welcoming energy Drew gave was almost confusing to him. He'd gotten used to the cold shoulder. Handing Drew the box of flowers, Marcus took a seat beside her. Drew's eyes widened when opening the box. "Wow, lilies, how sweet of you. They're beautiful." She then took in the flowers' sweet smell. Marcus gave her a bashful smile, pleased that she loved the flowers. "You're welcome. Beautiful flowers for a beautiful woman." There was an awkward moment of silence between the two. Neither of them knew what to say. Drew admired her lilies, trying to avoid the elephant in the room. This was the first time she'd seen Marcus since before her accident. Jay told her he was at the hospital around the clock, putting everything on pause until she was out, but Drew didn't remember any of it. Marcus even paid her hospital bill, asking the staff and Jay to keep it anonymous. "I don't recall ever getting lilies from anyone before. Thank you, Marcus." Marcus handed Drew a smile at the same time, fluffing the pillows under her leg. "How's the leg? How are they treating you around here?" he asked. Drew handed Marcus a grateful smile, glad to report she was being treated like a princess and sometimes a handicap. Drew laughed out. She also enlightened her leg was doing great. "I was told when it starts to itch, the healing process is beginning." Marcus chuckled, picking up a custom-made wire scratcher laying across the table. "And I see we have the suitable device for the job." Drew laughed out, informing Tevin made it for her. She added he was such a sweetheart. Can you believe him and Dean are brother and sister? This was surprising to Marcus. He told Drew that's probably why Tevin looked so familiar. Marcus then went on to tell Drew he'd met Tevin a few minutes ago and it was a good thing she had a man around. "I can tell he's really fond of you," Marcus brought to light. "Yeah, him and Rain are my protectors, so they think." Marcus chuckled, nodding his head in agreement. He then went on to inform Drew he almost had to go through a background check before they would let him see her. Drew chuckled. Marcus peered out vacantly at the guests who were enjoying the warmth from the clay chimney, and Drew observed him. Capturing a sense of detachment, all Drew wanted to do was release the hurt she held for Marcus, in hopes if this was done, she could move on from him. But Drew's heart was staggered when it came to their situationship, partly because he'd hurt her one too many times, and also because Marcus had changed. Him being incarcerated really matured him in ways that were almost unrecognizable to Drew. She could tell in his walk, his talk, even in his touch, Marcus wasn't the same man. And for this reason, a small part of Drew didn't want to let him go. That part of Drew wanted to know who this new person was and if he could finally love her as her heart desired. With a caress to Marcus's arm, Drew broke his trance. She spoke. "Thank you for being there. Jay told me you were always there." Drew swallowed her tears. "I'm glad you're home safe, Marcus." Marcus's heart was overjoyed. Putting his arms around Drew, he consumed every bit of her. Drew was like melting butter in his arms. There was almost none of her left before she remembered this was the very thing she didn't want controlling her anymore. Pulling from Marcus's embrace, she told him to wait. There was something she needed to say. Drew went on to speak, but paused her words when noticing Zay walked through the door, holding a giant teddy bear and a package of Oreos. "Happy birthday, Julie McCain," he yelped out. Drew was mortified by the unexpected visit, and by the look on Marcus's face, so was he. Zay immediately paused his words and steps, eyeing the pair. He was shocked to see Marcus there and sitting so close. Drew handed both men an involuntary, unwitting smile. Her blood boiled. Where the hell was Rain and Tevin, she asked self, wondering which one authorized this, knowing Marcus was there. Drew knew they were behind this monstrosity and they would pay. Marcus took a deep breath, then exhaled. Gazing into Drew's eyes, their heart beat the same rhythm. Marcus didn't care that they was there. He'd asked for this time and planned to use it to the last second. Taking a box from his pocket, Marcus presented it to Drew. "Happy birthday, beautiful. Enjoy your day." He then placed a kiss on her cheek, stood up, and proceeded to the door, but not before stopping to greet Zay. "What's up, brother? You good?" he asked. Zay assured he was straight, looking over at Drew, clutching his pride. Marcus was cool. He knew this man existed because Jay knew this man existed. For him, there was no need for panic. Marcus knew what he'd asked Yah for, and now he'd have to be patient and wait. With a stroke of his gold tee and a quick once-over of Zay, Marcus looked back at Drew. "Enjoy your day, Drew Boo," he yelped out, handing her a dashing smile. Drew returned the smile, accompanied by a quick wave. She then hurried to put the gift given by Marcus in her jacket pocket. Afterwards, she quickly turned her attention to Zay. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Zay quickly shook the little green man off his shoulder, continuing as if Marcus was never there. He hurried over to Drew. "Oh, look at you. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. I had meetings for days, for weeks." Zay fluffed Drew's pillows, trying to make her more comfortable, at the same time explaining why he wasn't there sooner. Noticing him trying to make himself a bigger deal than Marcus, Drew stopped Zay's explanation and his gesture to make her comfortable. "Zay, stop. You don't have to do that. Or explain. Marcus was just here checking on me." Drew felt compelled to explain Marcus's presence due to the insecurities they displayed. Zay was a bit embarrassed. It was that evident to Drew he was annoyed by Marcus being there. He spoke. "I'm sorry, Drew. Seeing you with Marcus made me feel some type of way." Zay shook his head. "Dang, I don't want to lose you before I even have you." Drew raised a growl. She was impressed that Zay wasn't hesitant about staking claim to her. "Zay, what are you doing here?" she asked again. Zay told her he came bearing gifts, handing Drew the teddy bear and the package of Oreos. "Oh, Zay, you didn't have to do this." Drew gave him a hug. The affection alone sent Zay's soul into orbit. He told Drew he couldn't miss her birthday, and it didn't sit right with him that she was sitting in the house alone. "Oh, you're special, Zay." "No, you are," Zay stated, pulling a DVD from his jacket pocket, handing it to Drew. She was thrilled to see it was all 6 seasons of a different world. Drew absolutely adored the gift. It meant a lot to her. Zay took heed to a conversation they'd had about their favorite shows as kids. She mentioned to him she had the complete 6 seasons on VHS, but somewhere between her move from Atlanta to Jay's house and then to the B&B, it got lost. "Wow, where did you get this? I've looked everywhere," Drew stated excitedly. Zay knew he'd struck gold, honeys, when hearing the joy in Drew's voice and the smile on her face. "I got my connections," he stated. Drew examined the DVD. "Yes, darlings, I will be in my room the next few weeks. Nobody bother me," Drew said jokingly. Zay told her he was glad she liked it. He then invited himself to spend those few weeks with Drew, at the same time caressing her face, placing the sweetest kiss upon her lips. Drew quickly pulled away, not expecting the kiss. She spoke. "Zay, I think we need a friendship line." "What's a friendship line?" he asked, puzzled. Drew explained, a line he could not cross when it came to them, a line that would protect their friendship. "So is this line invisible, or can you see this line?" Zay leaned in closer, kissing Drew once more. "Oh my, this is what I call consistency, you hear me?" Anywho, the day passed and the evening was upon Serenity Meadows. Drew sit in her bed, alone of course, with her leg propped on a pillow, enjoying all the snacks she'd asked Miss Sue to get for her private birthday bash. She indulged. Not only did Miss Sue get the goodies she'd asked for, but she'd also taken it upon herself to do a little decorating in Drew's bedroom. Y'all, Miss Sue really outdid herself. She had emerald green and silver balloons everywhere. She also had a cute little table set up in the middle of the room, draped with emerald green and silver beads and streamers. The table also held party favors, the tiny little cake Drew asked her to make, the snack tray, a bottle of wine chilling in a silver bucket, and a platter of chicken quesadillas. You'd have thought Drew was having friends over. Anyway, Drew threw a grape into her mouth. Her eyes were glued to the TV. She was involved, hunties. Although Drew had seen this episode of A Different World a million times, for some reason this watch had her in her head about Zay and Marcus. She asked herself, was she torn between Marcus and Zay like Whitley between Dwayne and Julian? Drew tried to shake the thoughts, but they were coming in one after another. So many, she'd stopped watching the TV show and started episodes of her own. Drew evaluated self. She evaluated her actions. She then evaluated her life. She tried to stay strong in the moment, but Drew broke. Her thoughts of gratefulness went 4 months back, even further than that. But the events her heart rested on were Serenity Meadows' birth, Marcus getting out of jail, Tevin and Dean's dysfunction, Zay and his article, the accident, and to top it off, turning 33. I have so much to be thankful for, y'all. So why do I feel so empty? Drew asked and stated with tears in her eyes. After turning the TV off, Drew stretched out her arms, pleading for y'all to give her strength, to guide her in the direction he wanted her to go. Drew had been standing strong for so long, she forgot how it felt to break. Determination ran through her veins. True intimacy with Yah is what Drew seeked. So she hopped off the bed onto the floor and lay prostrate before Yah, confessing all her sins and shortcomings. Drew cried out for Yah to guide her on the new journey she was on. She cried out that Yah give her direction when it came to Dean and Tevin. She cried out for guidance dealing with Zay and Marcus. Drew cried out in praise for Serenity Meadows. She cried out in praise for Yah sparing her life in the accident. She cried out in praise for family and friends. Drew cried out for Yah's grace and mercy. Drew's mission was to lose herself in praise, and that's just what she did. A moment passed. Drew was still lost in praise when she finally found her way back. Exhausted and in need of hydration, she lifted herself from the floor, making her way back to the bed. She was drained, but never felt better. Drew hadn't felt that light in a long time, and she loved it. Shaking her head, Drew couldn't believe she'd lost focus that fast. Looking up to the heavens, she sincerely apologized to Yah for the fall. Then she vowed to be careful to pay close attention to His will and not get so distracted by things that kept her away from Him. Okay, this chapter was giving. First, to address, Rain and Tevin are definitely in grown folks' business, because why would they send Zay back knowing Marcus was there? Oh, just messy. And adding to the messy, Marcus knew exactly what he was doing by speaking to Zay. Poor Drew has some decisions to make. Now, although Drew did go to Yah for guidance, will she be obedient enough to make the right decisions? I guess you guys will just have to join me for the next story time over here at Imagination Station. Until then, keep this in your memory. The way you treat others is the loudest sermon you'll ever preach. Yah bless this reading and yourselves. Smooches.